Hello, today we're going to travel back in time to 1980 to try a Penfolds Bin 707. I'm Trent.
And I'm Jason, and we're the Wind Up Podcast. We're two guys on an unfiltered and unapologetically unprofessional wine journey. And our saying here is drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So, Trent, what's been on your mind this week?
What's been on my mind? So, the topic that's been on my mind is terroir, or as you like to say it, terroir. Do you remember what that is? What is it? What is it again?
Terror's like when you're scared as hell, man.
Yeah, but in the wine sense?
Oh, I don't really know. Tell me, what is it about?
So terroir talks about expression of the land in the French term, and talking about there's all these Appalachian sub-areas in terms of how it expresses the land. It's all about different soils, climates, etc. But I don't want to talk about wines. I want to extend that a bit more and ask the question about how come we don't do that with fruit and vegetables as well? Okay?
Yeah.
When you think about it, like, why don't we have Barossa bananas? Coonawarra capsicums, Yarra Valley yams, Hunter Valley honeydews, and Margaret River mangoes.
Yeah, that's true.
How come we don't do that? Because they surely have different soils, different climates, and also different expressions of the fruit as well, right? So my question is, why don't we do that? Obviously, you can't answer it because you don't have fruit and vegetables and eat corned beef.
I only eat rice and corned beef. That's exactly. Right, yeah.
But funnily enough, in some areas of the world, they actually do this, and this is in Japan.
Oh.
So in Japan, they have the Miyazaki mangoes from the Miyazaki prefecture. They're often described as bright golden color and juicy, and they go for $4,000 for a pair of mangoes. Okay,
that's a juicy pair.
Yeah, and the other one is the Tochi Atome strawberries from the Tochigi prefecture. Provides a balanced sweet and sour flavor, deep red color, and nicely pointed shape. Yeah, the shape counts. For a pack of 9 strawberries sells for about $100 US.
Whoa.
So the question is, we have this sense of place for our grapes and in turn our wines. How come we don't do that in Australia for our fruit and vegetables? Is it a case of we're trying to do mass production to get to a price point?
Yeah.
Or is there some optionality there in terms of we can do something a bit more about championing our fruit and vegetables? Your thoughts?
There could be something like Blacktown blackberries or something like that.
Yeah, it could do.
That could be a thing, but I don't know. It feels like a marketing technique is the way I'm thinking about it, but maybe that's not the case. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts is that you're going to Japan in May, and you can try these $1,000 or $4,000 pair of mangoes.
Mate, I'm down for those juicy mangoes, but at that price, probably not.
And you can tell me if it's worth the money.
Yeah. Yeah,
I remember going there even just for bananas. It's like some extraordinary prices kind of go for it, and it's okay. And even like the melons, the honeydew melons, there were like some exorbitant prices. They look absolutely stunning and pretty and very picturesque, but flavor-wise, I think it was about the same. But I don't know about the strawberries and mangoes. But I think we can do something a bit more around championing our fruit and vegetables around Australia.
But then having said that, does that mean like if the Japanese are doing this, it's actually a marketing technique because you couldn't see the difference?
Well, if you say that they're doing it as a marketing technique, then we're also doing the same thing with wines as well. Because I do think different climates, different soils does affect the different type of fruit and vegetables that we create.
Yeah, I think in terms of wine, it really stands out. I got to try these mangoes and see. Yeah, got it. Okay, your
thoughts?
My thoughts, coincidentally, is related because it's around Japan, and it's around marketing. So I've been looking at my social feeds, and about a month ago, my social feeds blew up with Penfolds' collaboration with Nego.
It wasn't about the Wind Up podcast?
That also blows up, but this was in addition to that. So when I swiped up, Nego and Penfolds came up, which was interesting, and it was a collaboration. It was probably one of a kind, and it made me think about the influence of fashion and art and wine. Yeah. Are you familiar with Nego?
No, I'm not familiar with Nego.
Nego, because of the Japanese linkage, is a Japanese designer. So he started up Bathing Ape. Yeah. He's also now the owner and head of Human Made streetwear brands, and he's also an artistic director for Kenzo.
Okay, yeah.
So major player in fashion, and so he's done something quite unique in the wine world in joining up with Penfolds, and it's their first collaboration between fashion and wine, and he's done 2 things there, and I wanted to show it on screen here. The first one that he's done is a collaboration on the design of wine. So he's got packaging here called Wine by Penfolds, and you could probably see a graphic of a crocodile there, which is the representation of Australia. Yeah, that's right. And then he's chosen for France, he's chosen a rooster. Yeah. Which is also what we're showing up here. And then he's done a third one, which I haven't bought yet, which is a bear for the USA. And so he's done this series about Wine by Penfolds, kind of trying to represent the individual countries' styles and designs, but also the oneness in bringing us together and enjoying wine. So that was quite unique, interesting influence and collaboration. Yeah. The other thing that he's done is in regards to Grange. So he's been the first person to redesign and reimagine the packaging of Grange. Have you seen his designs?
Oh, I've seen it briefly, yeah.
So because he's kind of got this streetwear background, it's another graphic of grapes, and he's reimagined the box. The box is all white. He's got this graphic on it. And he's also, inside of it is a bandana. So if you get your Grange, there's a bandana with the graphics of Nigo
Grange
on it. Yeah, that's right. Interestingly, he also released a limited edition silk rug with the design of the Grange as well. Only 25 made in the world. Yeah. But it's kind of trying to...
A rug.
A round rug with the design that he's created, which is a graphic of grapes. Yeah. And he's kind of brought the attention of the world to Penfolds through his design and fashion. And it just made me think, is that a good thing? Is that actually making you more interested in wine? Is it doing something better for the wine industry? Or is it just this shameless promotion? I was keen to get your thoughts. What do you think?
I think it's you have to try to take it on a tasteful manner. The one that kind of comes to mind around the mix between art and wine is Mouton Rothschild in Bordeaux. And each year they release their wines and they partner up with the artists and they create new labels for every single year. And then it becomes a bit more of a collector's item, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But this one, I think you have to be careful on how far you take it. I think with Wine Label, it's okay. Then you start doing rugs, T-shirts, jackets and stuff like that. Then it starts, I know from my perception, they're trying to push it a bit too far.
Well, he also released varsity jackets, limited release Penfolds varsity jackets.
I think it's going too far then.
With the different labels on it. But I actually have a different take because they look really cool. I would buy them. They're already sold out and they're very expensive, but they look really good.
Is it trying to make Penfolds more younger, approachable rather than the old man's drink?
Yes. And I actually think this is a good thing. And I'm keen to hear what everyone in the community thinks below. The fact that they've brought in someone from the fashion world, streetwear kind of credentials and so forth, I think it's blurred the lines between fashion and wine. And it's actually, in my mind, it's introduced people that probably, maybe they're not too across the wine world. Maybe they're now having a sneak peek and going, oh, what's this about? Why is Nigo, my favorite fashion designer, doing this? What's this wine about? And wanting to give it a try. So it's kind of introducing new markets to it.
Yeah.
Which I think ultimately is a good thing.
Yeah, I think I have to make sure that in terms of what they're trying to, the concepts around both the artist and the wine come together.
Yeah.
Like, I know it could be something a bit more abstract where something's a bit more traditional. It may work in terms of what they're trying to go with, but it may not work as well. But, I don't know whether it gets a bit too commercialized around like LV and Henschke or something like that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm curious to find out. I mean, I was looking at this and I look at Penfolds and I look at Grange, and it still has this perception to me that it's an old man's kind of world.
Yeah.
Right.
That's because you need to be an old man to afford it.
Exactly. But now you've got these kind of young hipster kind of people interested in streetwear and so forth and fashion going, you know what, Grange is bloody good. And Nigo, he really likes Grange. That's what got him into this.
Yeah.
So I think it's breaking down barriers. Yeah. So I'm interested to see more. If anyone knows some good collaborations, pop it in the chat below. We're keen to see, does the fashion and art world influence wine in a good way or a bad way?
Sounds good. So on today's topic. We're talking about the 1980 Penfolds Cabernet Bin 707.
Wow, 1980.
Yeah. So this was, I would say, kind of gifted by my uncle Des. Had the wine cellar in my late grandfather's cellar. There was one condition on me having it, though, was that it comes onto the Wind Up podcast.
Thank you, Uncle Des.
And so we're doing that. I would also just add there's also some other classic Australian gems to come that we'll try in future episodes. Before we get to that, I guess in looking at this ancient bottle, can you do the maths again, how old this is?
So I did this on the Merrick Watts episode and I got it completely wrong. I don't want to repeat that. You do it, mate. You go. Calculation, 1980. It should be simple. Come on.
What is it?
44?
44 years ago. 44 years ago.
Filipinos can do maths.
And if you would have seen on it, there's two stickers on it. You know, here there's one is $39.95 and also here is also 1989. So firstly, back in the day, 1980, which I'm guessing it was bought like in maybe 1982, bought for $40.
What a bargain.
You know? And then these days, how much has it been? $707?
It's like $700 to $800. It's very expensive.
$700. So that's about 19 times increase.
Yeah.
So you talk about inflation these days. That's
more than that.
It's hitting that. Funnily enough, you know, I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was comparing about the salary of a person 50 years ago is about $25,000. And the equivalent today is about $350,000.
Yeah, okay.
So you look at that in terms of that re-indexation of salary and then also the increase in the wine from $40 to $700. It's been crazy, which makes it less approachable. I did ask you to do a comparison of a 1980 to a current day release, but obviously you didn't come up with the goods.
Yeah, I can't afford that. So it didn't happen.
So we'll just stick with the 1980. So that's the one sticker, the $39.95. The other sticker was 1989. So my uncle enlightened me in terms of why it had 1989 there. And that's because that he was reading a book by Robin Bradley that produced the Australian Wine Pocket Book, otherwise referred to as the Gold Book, that was first released in 1978. And what he tried to do, he was a wine writer as well, he tried to really simplify wine. So it talks about each of the wineries, so say, Penfolds Bin 707, and then he'll have basically 4 columns there. The year, the rating out of 7, the best year to drink, and also the price. Mm-hmm. So really keep it simple. So rather than all the verbiage around black cherries, blossom, blah, 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 it was basically more empirical around data-based analysis of the wines. So that's really cool. So similar to the Beckett's, you know, when you're looking at your cards that you're collecting, NBA cards when you were younger.
Oh, right. Yep.
So it did say here that it was 1989 that was peak drinking. And obviously it's 2024 now. So we're slightly over that mark.
Just a bit. 1989, I thought it would have lasted longer. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this wine goes. But I do want to talk about, as with these old wines, what was happening in 1980. So what was coming to your mind in 1980?
At that time, I wasn't born, but I'm pretty sure my dad was trying to mac on my mum. That was probably about it. Yeah.
Okay.
What was happening in your world?
Well, I don't have that on my sheet, but CNN began broadcasting.
Yeah.
Okay. 3M begins sales of its latest product, the Post-it notes.
Whoa. All right.
Former Beatle John Lennon was shot to death.
Mm.
The Rubik's Cube debuts internationally in stores. And the last one was I was not born then either. Yeah. And probably my dad was macking on my mum.
He probably was. I think my folks got married in that year, actually.
Really?
So the macking was happening. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's 1980. But from 1980, let's talk about the 707 in particular. The first vintage of the Bin 707 was in 1964. The reason why it gets its name is not because the batch identification number 707, it's because it's actually reference to the Boeing 707.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, what's the linkage?
The linkage is that it was flying over, I think, one of the areas in how they distribute the wines in Sydney. And they talked about the Boeing 707 bring Australia closer to the rest of the world. And hence it got its name, maybe including globalization and bringing Penfolds close towards the world. And I guess similar to the Grange, but also different to the Grange, is that the Grange, again, is very iconically Australian, and so is the Cabernet. And the Grange just takes a variety of Shiraz grapes from a few different areas, basically trying to be a representation of the best grapes around areas of Australia. And for this Cabernet 707, it does a similar thing around the best grapes in terms of Cabernet Sauvignon around South Australia. So from the Coonawarra, the Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale, and the Pathaway to create the what they call like the kind of house style of Penfolds. And we refer to house style similar to how Champagne does it, right? I take grapes from various different growers and create that similar style for every single year. So that consistency in terms of what they produce. And I guess the interesting thing about this one is that in the not so good years, they don't produce the wine. So it's not every single year they come up with the 707. So in 1970-75, they didn't have it. 81, they didn't have it. 1995, they didn't have it. 2000, they didn't have it. And most recently in 2020, they didn't have the 707.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to try this one today, again, with old wines. We said 1989 was when we beat peak drinking. It's 2024. So how many years is it past its peak?
A lot of years. You do the calculation. Where's my Excel spreadsheet? I need to work that out.
Or your abacus. Again, with old wines, it may be flabby. It could be dull, lacking the liveliness, the acidity, and the brightness of it because of the time and oxidation. Luckily, it didn't look too low on the shoulder, but the cork and the foil maybe could have shown its time. It may show a bit more tertiary flavors around nuttiness, sweet sherry characteristics, a bit porty-like. You've had a taste already, but what are you picking up?
We had a taste probably about 20 to 30 minutes ago, and actually it's changed for me. It's still, I'm surprised by this age about how much fruit's coming through. That kind of black fruits to me is still there, but also it's now getting this savory scent on it, a bit soy-like, which wasn't there originally when it was first opened up.
Yeah. It still has that kind of a slight brightness to it in terms of its fruit. It shows that kind of freshness. Still that kind of hints of the classic Cabernet around the kind of graphite and lead pencil coming through, but definitely has the more tertiary flavors. I think I said to you before, I don't know, probably the Chinese people know that kind of old rosewood kind of cedar boxes they kind of put the blankets in to kind of store for a long time to also keep it away from like moths and pests and stuff like that type of old wood type of smell to it.
Bit of muskiness, yeah,
but not in a bad sense though.
No. And what's interesting for its age is the acidity and the brightness is still there. Like lots of saliva still coming through, which I wasn't expecting for 44 years old. I got 44 right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that would die away. Even with the color, it actually is still quite
And
dark.
what are you picking up with the tannins?
The tannins are soft. I think they're definitely not too they're not too grippy in any way, but they're very, very light and refined. What about you?
Yeah, very light and refined, but the tannins are still there. Very soft, smooth, very smooth, but the length that on it is also very, very nice as well. You know, when you kind of, I don't know, the length of it, like that kind of, that woodiness, this kind of keeps on carrying.
Yeah. I've just had another taste there and I can just feel it hanging out there.
What would you rate this one out of 10?
It's, to be honest, it's quite interesting because when we had it earlier, it's changed in terms of profile, and I love that. I love the journey in the evolution there. I'm between an 8 and a 9 right now. I think I give it an 8. I'm really enjoying that for its age and where it's been. But I could see this in another 10 minutes probably being a 9. What about you?
I'll give it a 9 because of again, it's a good thinking wine. You know, it's there, it's changing, it's developing, it's evolving as well. And it's still got life after 44 years. You know, you've got life after 40 odd years. So I can see this in the wine as well. But yeah, 9 out of 10. Surprised?
Yes.
That
did not expect it to be
still
like that.
There, showing a bit of youth, similar to yourself. And it's good. 9 out of 10 for me.
What I find interesting about 707, and before starting this wine journey, I'd actually never heard of 707. Like to me, it's always about the Grange.
Yeah.
And that was it. But was that your perception as well? Did you already know about 707 going in?
I always get confused with all the numbers.
Yeah.
Hence, I didn't really know about 707 and again, knew more about the Grange. maybe the RWT, maybe the St. Henri, and that's about it. All the numbers kind of all confuse me, I think, in the end.
Yeah, and which is why Grange is easier. It's not a number, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I completely agree.
But, 707 is basically the flagship Cabernet Sauvignon wine, and even after 44 years, I think it's still awesome. I'll be very interested when you can show me a more recent release of 707 and see how it compares.
One day I'll be a baller and I'll have the money to do so. But right now, I did want to say thank you. Thanks to you for sharing this. Thanks to Uncle Des and your granddad as well for doing that, because what an experience. 1980, it's in a capsule. It's when our parents were macking on each other.
It's before we were born as well.
It's before we were born. What a moment.
I always love the point of you tasting a bit of history.
Yeah.
And you think back to 1980 when days were simpler as well, life was simpler. And it's just tasting a bit of that in a bottle. It's pretty spectacular and special. So
can you have a 707 from 1980? I'd say hell yes. It's really good. Yeah.
Find me another bottle.
A more recent one.
Let's wind it up there.
And so we'll wind it up there. Look, again, thank you for sharing that. Let us know in the comments below if anyone's had a 707. What was your vintage and what was your thoughts? Is it worth the price? Certainly a great experience from our side. As we like to say here, drink more, try more, learn more. Thanks all.